戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is February 11th, 2026. We're live to tape on episode 915. And today, Burning Baal. And signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, also writing the book Archetypalism. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dude.
Ah!
Wow.
And it is the 11th of February, like you said. 211.
211. What does that mean? Is there anything on the calendar, the Canary Cry calendar for 211?
It is blank today.
Oh, a rare blank day on the Canary Cry calendar. Well, just a reminder, folks, the end of February is the deadline to sign up for the Canary Cry supply drop for the first quarter here of 2026. And very special opportunity here. I have been confirmed that those who sign up for the first quarter supply drop, if you're not already signed up, will receive a Canary Cry calendar and the remaining gold backs as supplies last. Okay. Depending on supplies, but I know that we at least have a handful of them. So for those who are sad that they couldn't get in the fourth quarter, they don't have the Canary Cry calendar, they missed out on the gold back, they can go to canarycrysupplydrop.com, sign up there, support the show, and we'll throw in some fun bonuses for you, because you really don't want to be a Canarian without a Canary Cry calendar this year. I mean, this is a big year.
Supply droppers, thank you. You guys are really important.
Keeping us alive.
Yeah. Are we being throttled more recently, or are people just not tuning in as much anymore? Because the live stream numbers keep going down. Last episode got censored on YouTube because we played a clip of something we're not supposed to.
Can't play the Olympics. They don't like us doing the Olympics clips. Showing the Illuminati symbolism. They don't like that. So, we're used to it. I don't know.
We'd appreciate anybody who does the sharing, whether it's YouTube or X. If you're on X, repost the live stream and comment and do all that stuff. Get that engagement going.
hit the like button. Do it early. Don't wait. You can always take it back if you want. Hit the like button now if you can.
Yeah, if you reshare it or if you share it, if you just repost it on your feed, you can take it off after. You don't have to keep
You
it
can
up there.
always take it off. Come on, you can help us out. I do want to do a couple. Well, it's really funny because live numbers and some recent censoring we've experienced. It's all kind of funny because, Gonzo, I was telling you before, as I pay attention to the email as often as I can throughout the day, we have just been getting a ton of emails about can we advertise with you? Will you have this guy on as a guest? My favorite one, which I'm almost certain is fake, but it's still flattering anyways, was Red Bull.
It gives you wings.
The Baal worshipping energy drink,
Yes.
known for its action sports. They actually reached out for a collaboration, guys.
Hey, collab with Red Bull. Are they going to have us? They usually do stuff where people are jumping out of space thingies from up high, or they're doing some kind of action. Yeah, some kind of like hang gliding thing. Are they going to? Is podcasting the next action sport?
I don't know.
Look at how brave those guys are. They're podcasting without a robot.
I was going to say, actually, you might be onto something because, especially if you're not an ex-CIA or FBI person, like podcasting, it can be an extreme sport nowadays with all the craziness that pops up on a regular basis that we're expected to cover and pay attention to. It is dangerous to our mental and physical health. So we got to start wearing helmets, Gons, apparently.
NASCAR, off-road biking, and podcasting.
Instead of collabing with Red Bull, we are on the value for value model, of course. Amen. I gave a shout out to the supply droppers. Go to canarycrysupplydrop.com if you haven't yet. But also, we have a wonderful Canarian who is building the parallel economy through making sure that Canarians like you are able to get the essentials in their life and avoid sending their money to these corporations that worship the devil and hate everything that you love. And so I do want to give a shout out to Cage Rattler Coffee. Okay.
Hey,
this is coffee for Canarians by Canarians. Go to cagerattlercoffee.com.
Is it just a quick shout out or is this full blown?
Let's play the jingle. Go ahead, play the jingle.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
It's just usually we're shouting out Cage Rattler Coffee later on in the episode, so I think there's a huge number of people who might not know about Cage Rattler Coffee.
That's true. You're right. Yeah, people need to find out right at the top here.
There are Canarians, producers of the show, who are sourcing quality, GMO-free organic beans from around the world. They are roasting it, small batch, making it available just to Canarians, and you can find it at cagerattlercoffee.com. It's the best. I have some every day. People tell me all the time how it's the best. You can even do like a subscription coffee of the month club over there. You can get your Nephilim Hunter dark roast, your Emu Wrangler medium roast, and of course, value for value. Cage Rattler Coffee makes sure to support the show every episode. So go do it. I'm telling you, it gets me jazzed in the morning. And what makes me even more excited is not giving my money to the horrible corporations who, are actively working.
The siren stealing your soul one sip at a time.
That's right. The siren amongst the others. Don't say that, Hans. Don't say that because they might want to collab with us someday. Get a Starbucks collab. See? See, we don't have to worry about that because we're value for value, folks. You get it. You got to support the show value for value, or else we will die. It's the only way that we're alive. All right. Speaking of not, and here's the thing. Keep this in mind. Spending your money, and this is biblical. Spending your money is a form of worship, okay?
Yeah.
It is It is a really tough spiritual situation, especially for those who are followers of Christ in this day and age. It's very easy to forget. It's very easy to be forced into, worshiping various things with our money. Often we do it mindlessly, which again, if we're going to learn from the Bible, our worship should not be mindless. However, we're often either tricked into it or lulled into apathy, hypnotized into mindlessly worshiping things we shouldn't with our time, our talent, and our treasure. These are all things that happen. And so this parallel economy and the value for value is also just like for me, a beautiful practice in being very mindful about the things that I get value out of in the world and where I put my value, whatever God gives me, again, whether it's time that I have, talent that I have, or treasure that God gives me. We should all be working very diligently to really be prayerful and mindful of how we are dispersing these things in the world, and make sure as often as we can that they are going to things that glorify God. So I didn't mean to do a whole value for value pitch up front, but it is relevant, Gons, because of our first story. And this is coming out today. We have not heard a lot or talked about Iran a lot. Now we have little pieces here and there. Of course, Lindsey Graham still wants to go to war. Lots of people want to go to war.
There's that clip a couple weeks ago when Lindsey Graham was really disappointed that Trump didn't drop bombs. He was like,
crying. However, the United States has just deployed another carrier strike group. They are on their way over to that area of the world. There have been various aircraft movements over the past couple of weeks. It's still happening in the background, has not had a whole lot of coverage or updates lately until this morning when something interesting happened. And that is clips and stories started popping up where Iranian protesters, apparently there are still protests going on. I don't know yet. I don't think we know yet whether these protests are related to the anti-Iranian government protests the past weeks or months. But this footage is coming out where Iranians across Iran in several places now, there's 3 or 4 different stories of this. The Iranians have set up effigies of Baal, like the classic Baal. Yes, that Baal, the Baal from the Bible, the bull-headed god that demanded child sacrifice, where multiple times in the Bible, God's people get a little distracted and they start worshiping the wrong gods.
That's a little.
Baal. Just a little
tends
bit.
to happen over and over again, but it's part of the fallen nature of man,
Yeah, we get it. Fallen nature of man. Sometimes we can lose our way. We can lose our eyesight. This is just what the Old Testament is about. The repeating storyline of God's people getting distracted or becoming unfaithful or in one way or another. And then whether knowingly or on purpose or not on purpose or unknowingly, they begin worshiping false gods or foreign gods or fallen angels or something like that. Happens over and over and over. And of course, things happen that always bring God's people. I think an interesting tie-in there to the value for value lesson we just learned. Very important to pay attention because we can find ourselves involved with gods little g gods we should not be involved with. But here we go. Here's a clip. They have constructed in several places around Iran giant Baal statues, pretty high quality ones too. And next to those, they have set up obelisks. Yes, like the Washington Monument, like the obelisks at the Vatican. And they are gathering around and setting these effigies aflame. And it's very interesting to watch. On one hand, the timing is amazing, considering the connection between Baal, child sacrifice, the Epstein files, the awakening that the world is having to the darkness of the elites and their spiritual practices, if they want to call them that. Let's see here. I actually did grab an article, not a whole lot of mainstream reporting on it, but here's one. Iranian protestors burn Baal effigy marked with Star of David, chant death to Israel at rally. Now, to be clear, they have marked, at least this one in the video, they printed out a sheet of paper with the Israeli flag, stuck it on the Baal statue, but they also printed out an American flag and stuck that on the Baal
and
statue.
a picture of Donald Trump right in between too. So
did they? Oh, I missed the picture of Donald Trump.
So if you look closely, it's got the Israeli flag on the left, a picture of Donald Trump in the middle, and the United States on the right.
And
So
they
I
even
don't
have
know what it all means.
in this Baal statue, they have everything. They have
They got
the
everything.
the pentacle or the pentagram, the upside down
Pentagram.
star. They have
they got the
666 emblazoned on the throne of Baal. It's incredibly
It
detailed.
says Baal in English on its belly, and it's got skulls on the throne.
Has
And
three different languages. It says Baal there on the
I
chest.
think it's
Okay, so it says
Aramaic,
here,
yeah.
oh, listen to this. Here's the reporting. Okay,
Okay.
we're talking about the protests going in Iran.
From Times of India, by the way. This article is from Times of India, which
Right. So this
long
is,
timers will know what's going on with that.
this is American intelligence. We've gone over this in the past, but just a reminder, this was a big story that was actually known beforehand, but then broken and known that India has a fantastically unregulated news industry. And so part of the Smith-Mundt Act, the way that U.S.
Modernization Act, yeah.
I don't think it was the Modernization. I think it was the original Smith-Mundt Act. Maybe it was the Modernization Act. Two different ones did the same thing. But in order to get around the laws that say the United States government is not allowed to propagandize the people, various intelligence agencies are allowed to start news agencies in other countries and then put out the propaganda there so that Americans can be, come in contact with it on the internet.
And the American news agencies can quote these foreign outlets as part of a way to not be directly reporting it. They're reporting other reports from like Times of India. It's like money laundering, except with news. It's news laundering.
It's propaganda laundering. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we see these Indian outlets for some reason get a lot of attention, it's probably because it's, coming from the CIA or something. But keep that in mind, because here is the story at Times of India. At a state-organized rally in Iran marking the anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, protesters burned an effigy labeled Baal, depicted with horns and marked with the Star of David. Chants of death to Israel. Notice how so far they have not mentioned Donald Trump's face or the American flag, right. But okay. Chants of death to Israel, death to America echoed through the crowds as images of the burning figure circulated widely on social media. The demonstration came amid heightened tensions between Iran, Israel, and the United States following recent regional conflict and renewed political friction. Iranian state media described the rallies as a show of national unity against imperial powers, while footage released by outlets affiliated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps showed effigies symbolizing the U.S. and Israel being set ablaze. In Tehran, symbolic coffins bearing the name of senior U.S. military officials were displayed, whoopsies, alongside missiles and wreckage from drones. Now, I will say, I have not seen a whole lot of footage of these coffins being mentioned here. I've not seen videos of these other kinds. The Baal burning effigy is the set of footage that is dominating. But at least Times of India is telling us about some more of this stuff. President Mossad Pezeshkian addressed crowds calling for unity in the face of what he described as foreign conspiracies. The burning of Baal effigy stood out for its use of ancient religious imagery blended with modern political messaging. By inscribing the Star of David on the figure, protesters appeared to equate Israel with corruption, evil, and satanic symbolism, a move critics say risks inflaming religious hostility. Then it does go in to who is Baal. Baal was an ancient Canaanite deity worshipped thousands of years ago in the Levant. The name Baal means Lord or owner. In Semitic languages, in Ugaritic texts, he is described as a storm and fertility god associated with rain, agriculture, and power. And it goes, archaeological discoveries from the Ugarit in modern-day Syria depict Baal as a warrior figure, often wearing a horned helmet and wielding a weapon. He was central to Canaanite religious practice and was believed to reside on Mount Zaphon. In the Hebrew Bible, Baal is portrayed as a rival to Yahweh and a symbol of idolatry. Over time, in Jewish and Christian traditions, Baal and related figures such as Baal Zebub became associated with demonic imagery. This evolution contributed to the broader perception of Baal as a false or evil deity in later religious narratives. And then they make a connection.
Oh, they're doing it for us. Times of India, doing all the dot connecting for us. Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. Once the intelligence agencies, really want to get a message across, they know how to do it. Baal's link to Jeffrey Epstein. Fact versus speculation. So we're going to get a fact check from Times of India. Nice. In case, of course, anybody this far along in the show automatically making the connections between Baal and the Epstein files. So Times of India getting ahead of it, okay? Maybe do a little pre-bunking so people don't get the wrong idea. Says here, in recent years, Baal's name has surfaced in online conspiracy theories tied to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. A document from the so-called Epstein files that circulated online. Circulated online appeared to show the term Baal.name in a banking reference field. Some social media users interpreted this as evidence of occult symbolism or cult worship. Posts claimed Epstein named a bank account after Baal, fueling narratives linking elite crime with satanic imagery. However, fact checkers have disputed these claims. Analysts have suggested that Baal.name was likely a garbled or misread version of bank name in a scanned
No, it wasn't. We looked at this before the show, one of the episodes. I don't think we brought it to the show necessarily. We might have mentioned it that first episode we did after the Epstein stuff.
No, we looked at the document. It does not look like a jumbled, miscopied.
Yeah, no,
and they're not. It was emails. They were digital files.
They were emails.
They were not printing and recopying the. Anyways, let's see here. Bank name is scanned on the document. No verified evidence. A classic fact checker.
Verified by who?
Has established that Epstein had any connection to Baal worship. Except for the child sacrifice.
Except for eating babies and trafficking them and just everything else. Okay, all right.
Then it goes into explain who Epstein was. He was accused of running a sex trafficking ring. His crimes were high profile. For some, the association of elite abuse scandals with occult symbolism carries emotional resonance, even in the absence of factual proof. Don't you love how a report in the Times of India reporting on an event where Iranian governments are burning effigies of, well, they say it's the governments, who knows, burning effigies of Baal, just has to come in and crush conspiracy theories. That's how you know this is a pre-bunking, okay? Almost done here, just a couple more things, because they do say symbolism and political messaging. So they're here to set the record straight, okay? Times of India is going to tell you what to think about what's going on. The use of Baal imagery in the Iranian rally reflects how ancient mythological symbols continue to be repurposed in modern political conflicts. In this case, the effigy appeared So, this is a classic, just, I guess, sort of mainstream kind of, maybe not mind control is the right word, but fact checking, we'll say. It's like, even though it is a literal god from ancient times that some people literally think is, still being worshipped by literal people, and we know for a fact this, that, the other. This isn't really spiritual, okay? This isn't really a spiritual war. This doesn't really have to do with, a real spiritual world, or even if it's not real, the beliefs of various. No. It's political, okay? In this case, the effigy appeared designed to merge religious demonology with contemporary geopolitical rivalry. Because, yeah, the theocratic government of Iran, who has religion police who beat people for not, doing this or that. Yeah, they're just using symbolism. They don't really believe in the spiritual stuff. While supporters may view such displays as expressions of resistance against perceived adversaries, critics argue that blending religious symbolism with political anger risks deepening sectarian divides. Critics? Who are these critics?
I don't know.
No sources, just straight propaganda from the mouth of the whoever. The episode underscores how history, faith, and politics remain tightly interwoven in the religion, and how ancient figures like Baal, like Baal can resurface in unexpected and controversial ways. And
totally unexpected. I didn't expect this at all. What is going on?
Burn it all. Burn it all.
I mean, it is. It's almost, I suspect that there's maybe some AI involved here. It is just such a straightforward from the horse's mouth, like, nothing to see here, okay? It's just symbolism. It's just politics. Certainly nobody really believes that there's a worldwide spiritual war and that various countries have elites, criminals who secretly worship ancient gods in order to gain power and control. No. It's just political messaging, okay?
Just political messaging. I found the picture of the caskets.
Found the coffins.
The coffins, yeah. I mean,
the timing of this is obviously interesting for several reasons. A, the Epstein files. What a perfect time to bring that up. One thing that's not mentioned in the article, but does appear in the videos, is it's not just the Baal effigies. It's also
the obelisk. Yeah.
There's an obelisk right next to it, which is interesting, from our general perspective. We consider the obelisk in the mystery traditions, is the phallus of Osiris, in the sort of Egyptian-based mystery religion.
Egyptian mythology, yeah.
Not necessarily a direct connection with Baal. However, Baal, Osiris, various mystery religions would venerate these two characters, and they do often show up in similar sort of analysis of these secretive groups. I did ask Grok, and Grok says that in the context of Iran and in the Islam context and stuff, that they would consider this not the phallus of Osiris, but the phallus of Baal, or Baal.
Did Grok provide any sources? Usually Grok will provide a couple sources, because I looked up the same thing and I could not find anything on that. So I don't know.
Yeah, let me see here. Let me go.
People posting about it or something. While you're looking at that.
Okay. Oh, maybe not. I
was going to say, there wasn't
Facebook links, so probably not. That might.
I don't think it's really a thing. Yeah. But biblically speaking, obviously tearing down high places, tearing down altars, so many examples of that. Judges 6, Gideon destroys the altar of Baal. You got 1 Kings, you got Ahab builds an altar to Baal, and then Josiah burns it down.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing. It happens over and over again. And I think it's interesting that they are pushing this imagery we don't hear anything about Iran for weeks. We know stuff was going on. We were hearing rumors about the internet being out and, the revolution. And of course, the United States wants a regime change there, right? If do they have?
At least
I
some
was
in the
hearing,
United States do.
yeah. So there's different narratives out there. One of them is that Iran is the last Middle Eastern nation without a central bank, without a Rothschild central bank, and so obviously they're going to try to push a revolution, regime change, all that, so they can put in the central bank and do all that. I hear other people saying, "Oh, it's just we don't want them to have nukes," even though it's probably about nuclear energy more so than like explosives. Also, though, just timing wise, Ramadan is coming up. I think it's like February 17th. I think so. Ramadan's coming up, and a lot of people in the country are probably going to be fasting and doing different things. How diabolical. If you are an opposing religiously weaved nation, like another Middle Eastern nation there that's, got the symbol on the Baal statue, mainly being the modern nation state of Israel. If you want to really disturb the Iranian citizens who are Islamic, when would you do the actual takeover? Probably during one of their big religious holidays, right? Or
Interesting.
during the month of the holiday. So I expect something to be attempted or maybe go down during Ramadan, just because it feels like it's a good time to get all the citizens of Iran to really ramp up. And we're also hearing about like thousands of people getting killed by the Islamic regime or whatever. And we don't know anything. I don't know how to verify any of it. Like, I don't have friends and family over there or anything. So, we're hearing things second and third hand. So it's tough, but I just find it interesting that the first time we really start seeing something tangible out of Iran is the burning of the Baal, because it's like a shared sentiment of, down with the Baal worshippers. Oh, look at the Iranians. They want to tear down the Baal worshippers too. It's like this weird one world, let's come together type of message that goes out. So I find it very fascinating.
Well, and especially with the Epstein stuff, where the entire West, the leadership of the entire West is basically implicated in all the Epstein stuff. And of course, the Baal connection there. You could see how a government, I think it's most interesting that these are protests by the Iranian government. At least that's what we're being told in the mainstream. And it's coming immediately after some would call it sort of failed color revolution, where the anti-government protests were going on in Iran. As far as timing goes, there is another very interesting event that kind of connects to this, and that is that Bibi Netanyahu just got kind of the red carpet treatment in the U.S. I think it was.
The king showed up to America. The king of America showed.
That is certainly what some people are saying.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just what people are saying. Where he showed up, had a very intense sort of motorcade, and had meetings with Jared Kushner, and had meetings with everybody. I am looking right now, and it's really bugging me because I had this pulled up earlier. I did not know the conversation would necessarily go this direction. But Trump had a Truth Social post in response to his meeting from Netanyahu. And of course, it's impossible to find now.
While you're looking for that, just a real quick side note, since we're talking about Baal, a couple of the claims of what's in the chemtrails, the geoengineering chemtrails. People point out that there's barium and aluminum in it. And you put those elements together, Basil, B-A-A-L, Baal.
Whoa.
They're spraying Baal in our skies. We're breathing Baal. We're just breathing Baal.
That is interesting.
As a generation of Baal.
Burn the effigy. Okay, so I got this here. So, of course, Netanyahu's coming and met with Trump, and there's a lot of, let me just give you Trump's Truth Social in response. He says, I've just finished meeting with the Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. Thank you for that. And various of his representatives. It was a very good meeting. The tremendous relationship between our two countries continues. There was nothing definitive reached other than I insisted that negotiations with Iran continue to see whether or not a deal can be consummated. Interesting word. If it can, I let the prime minister know that will be a preference. If it cannot, we will just have to see what the outcome will be. Last time Iran decided they were better off not making a deal, and they were hit with midnight hammer. That did not work well for them. Hopefully this time they will be more reasonable and responsible. Additionally, we discussed the tremendous progress being made in Gaza and the region in general. There is truly peace in the Middle East. Thanks for your attention to this matter. So some fairly I don't know, almost oddly non-Trumpian stance here. Like usually he's taking like a much harder stance, but kind of a weak hand. Like, well, I told Netanyahu that we would prefer to not have a war with Iran, but if it's not possible to not have a war, then we'll just kind of see. So, as far as the timing and the messaging with the Baal burning effigy in Iran, Baal in this certain moment in history can be representative of like an evil, basically satanic Western leadership that is being kind of revealed to everybody. And then Trump being so soft on the not go to war talk is, I don't know. There's some interesting messaging going on at the same time here, Gons.
Somebody asked if Baal is in the Epstein files. And yes, when you look at it, there are 42 results. I'll show a few of them here. I mean, a lot of them, you're right, they're digital files. Now, some people have suggested that it's BAA1, and it's supposed to be like some banking
routing number,
routing thing. Yeah, some routing thing, which is possible that's what it is. In many cases, it could be.
In the search, it comes up as BAAL. Like you don't search BAA1 and then it comes up. Although that might be a good experiment.
You and I found a document looking at this, and it was not a 1. Like we double checked it. We were like, no, that's not a 1. That's definitely an L.
Right.
So it was definitely a BAAL, not a 1. And I think I found here it is. I think this is maybe this was the one that looked kind of like a 1. I guess that maybe looks like I don't know. There was one that for sure was not a 1. It was an L. Anyway,
very obvious.
It's in there. It pops up a bunch, and yes, it's a thing. So
what I think is interesting, Gons, is this. I would say this tranche more than ever of the Epstein files has more people than ever waking up to the spiritual warfare part of this. It's almost
very convenient.
Almost doesn't matter who you ask. They could be the most secular person in the world, and the things coming out of the Epstein files really has people pretty convinced that there's some sort of weird spiritual or occult aspect of this that's just hard to get away from. And I think it's very interesting. The Times of India, we suspect, is an intelligence community outlet to get the propaganda out to the people, just insisting, almost strangely, almost so out of place when it comes to the reporting of the news, just trying so hard to debunk and convince everybody that no, there's no spiritual war going on. It's just politics, okay? This is all just politics.
Well, it's specifically to the one of the Epstein things with the Baal and the emails and whatnot. Somebody had pointed this out, and I found the document here in the Epstein files where it says, there's a whole thing here. It talks about the code BAA1. And in the letter here, it talks about how Unsecured rating of at least Baa1 by Moody's, parentheses, and if rated Baa1 by Moody's, such rating is not on review or for possible downgrade. So it's some kind of like business
Moody's
banking
rating. It's like credit rating type of thing.
But it's like, here's the thing. It's like, all right, fine. Maybe Epstein didn't label his bank account bail, as some people suggested, but does it not show the spiritual the spirit behind all monetary, the whole economy? If a Moody's rating, the number one rating is Baa.
That's certainly something. I mean, honestly,
bail.
whether or not the word bail shows up in the Epstein files is almost of no import to me. I mean,
I know, but it's a big thing for people, so I'm just trying to get folks to understand that it doesn't matter if it's like a direct or indirect. You kind of get the idea from the spiritual point of view.
Just be a reflection of spiritual truths being
seeping through in all sorts of ways.
So there you go. Very interesting on the topic of sort of spiritual warfare, or perhaps, of course, and perhaps it's both, sort of political propaganda by the theocratic government, opportunism with the West leadership being under so much, pressure by the Epstein files. And the fact is that it's all of these things. It's all of these things. And so, but the ritual doesn't mean nothing. That's another interesting thing with the Times of India trying to say, no, it's just a political statement. Ritual is ritual, and ritual is all tied up with Epstein's temple. Ritual is all tied up with the whole business. Ritual is all tied. And much like, when we talk about, not to get too deep into it, but whether it's Bohemian Grove, the rituals they do there, and then people say, oh, it's just corny, it's just a bunch of guys getting drunk and playing dress up, it's really not that serious. You can say that with a lot of Freemasonic, like in your local Freemason temple, they'll do
your lower levels, maybe that's
where they
true.
dress up. Well, no, just let me finish. They'll get criticized because, you get a secret camera into a Freemasonic temple and they're playing dress up, and a guy puts on a crown and says, I am Solomon and I have a sword. And the next guy, and it's just like Bill from the hardware store walks up and he's like, hello, Solomon, I am your acolyte. And it's like really corny when you watch them. But the point being is, on the spiritual level, it's not aesthetics. That's the point about spiritual reality, is it's not aesthetic. If something doesn't look cool or doesn't, whatever, that doesn't mean that the ritual isn't still the ritual. And oftentimes the boringness or the lameness of a ritual can be just the type of thing that lets it hide in plain sight, to escape scrutiny, to, avoid people taking it seriously, unlike various rituals with like the Super Bowl or the Olympics or something, where it's very flashy, it's very high end, you take those ones seriously, or maybe if it's in a movie or something. But a lot of it, just because it's corny or doesn't, aesthetically make you feel impressed with the ritual, doesn't mean that it's not real in the sort of spiritual sense or the spiritual realm.
Especially,
but they'll constantly try to convince you that that's the case.
Right. Especially the burning of it, like the fire. Like we talk about Burning Man all the time here.
Disaster. Disaster.
And the burning of the man is like this it's a very important ritual at Burning Man. And so, putting anything on fire and having it have some kind of message is fundamentally spiritual more than anything. So,
which is another example of someone trying to pre-bunk you or convince you that it's all just political and lame. They'll say, Burning Man, it's just a bunch of hippies in the desert playing with fire. Oh, they're just on a bunch of, this attempt by the prevailing spirit of the time that wants to keep you disconnected from spiritual reality, that wants to keep you disconnected from paying attention to people doing things in secret places or whatever. Just another great example of that. So there you go. That's what started out today Very interesting, as we know, and we are all very aware and paying attention to the spiritual battle going on all around us, reaching a fever pitch with some quite literal burning of Baal effigies and obelisks and things by the government of Iran, if the Times
Allegedly.
of India, if the Times of India is to be believed there.
What is the play here?
On that note, Gons, I think it's time that we dive into a couple of little updates on Epstein.
Do we have to keep talking about it?
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Honestly,
nonstop.
Yeah, honestly, to some degree, I think it's, I'll be the first to say, oh, I'm tired. Oh, who cares about this? But I think
it's not a who cares, but it's like it's an overwhelming. It's just like the fire hose effect. It's just so much information.
It's ongoing. That's
It's
right.
ongoing
But in this
nonstop.
particular case, I think it's undeniable that the Epstein files are much more than the Epstein files. Again, certain news outlets, certain places, they want to convince you that it's just about the criminal activity of a bad man. But those of us, who are in the know that this is a perhaps human history level, I guess you could even call it an apocalypse, an unveiling of the spiritual realities going on around us. But just a couple of updates. We're not going to get too bogged down in it. One thing in the in the whole Epstein saga, the thing that has, I think, captivated me the most is what in the world is up? Why now? And, you go back to whether Trump is implicated. And if Trump was implicated, why didn't Biden release it? Why didn't the Democrats use it? Well, Trump was talking about it in 2016. Why didn't he release it the first time around? And we knew before then. And so this topic of Trump in the files is very interesting. I mean, I think it might be one of the more what's the word? Kind of topsy-turvy, diluted part of the conversation. Because, of course, people want to say, well, Trump's a bad guy. So there you go. That's all there is to learn about it. But of course, when you talk about Trump, you can't avoid the conversation, whether we believe it or not, the conversation about 4D chess, Gonzo. 4D chess.
I thought it was 5D at this point, but I have 4D. Sure. Okay.
Going, it goes up 4D, then it's 5D. And one very interesting twist in the relationship between the Epstein files, Trump, and the mainstream media is that the mainstream media was forced to report yesterday and today. We can see
they were forced. They had Trump had his gunmen at the heads of the CNN there.
They had no choice. CNN tweeted shortly after the law enforcement investigation into Jeffrey Epstein became public in the mid-2000s, Donald Trump called the Palm Beach, Florida Police Department to express gratitude, according to a newly released document. Now, this is the CNN version of the story here, just to give you a couple of stanzas. Shortly after the law enforcement investigation into Jeffrey Epstein became public in the mid-2000s, Donald Trump called the Palm Beach, Florida Police Department to express gratitude, according to a newly released document. Quote, "Thank goodness you're stopping him," Trump said, according to the document. "Everyone has known he's been doing this." And it goes a little bit more into the document, but we'll get some more information from the ABC report. Again, here's a clip of the ABC report. ABC, owned by Disney. ABC, one of, if not the most, egregious mainstream outlets.
Probably the benefactors of the Epstein apparatus. In portions. I mean, they are harvesting the attention of children for decades.
Disney has been a part of that conspiracy theory for a long time, but here's the ABC report.
This morning, a new document coming to light claims in the mid-2000s, President Trump called police about Jeffrey Epstein. Among the 3 million Epstein files released by the Department of Justice last month is a 4-page FBI report on an interview the Bureau conducted in 2019 with the man believed to be former Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder. Ryder and his detectives began investigating Epstein for human trafficking in 2004. According to the document, Trump called Ryder around that time and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." Ryder also says Trump said he threw Epstein out of his club, and he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Trump got the hell out of there. The former police chief says Trump told him to focus on Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, saying she is evil.
Did you have any suspicions that he was molesting young women,
no,
underage women?
I had no idea.
Trump has long denied having any knowledge of Epstein's crimes, but Ryder says Trump was one of the very first people to call when people found out that they were investigating Epstein.
Why is he talking like this? Very cool, very intense. ABC
Beautiful.
News.
Can you catch? I'm sure other people caught it. Caught the just valiant effort of ABC to try to make Trump the bad guy and you go deeper into these documents and into some other analysis. They say after it became public, which they're being very liberal with the phrase going public into the investigation, because you don't go public with an investigation until you make charges, right? So it was when this investigation started, somehow Trump heard about it and called, and he said, some of the this isn't an exact thing, but this is a paraphrase pretty close. Some things they left out of the report is Trump told him, hey, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's the operator, she's the one you need to go after. Things like this. And so some outlets are kind of making it out to be Trump may have began the first investigation. This is the first investigation back in the early 2000s. Of course, this meshes with clips we've seen of various, in fact, did I bring it? I don't think I brought it. Oh, well, people have been putting together a collection of the clips over the years where it seems several people may have accidentally been saying that Trump was the guy who started or aided. It was the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who said that Trump was an FBI informant on Trump. We have one of I believe he was the brother of an early victim or something. I could be wrong on that, who explicitly said, Trump basically whistle blew on Epstein before anybody knew anything. So, I just on timing. Now, just be clear, folks. I'm not saying that this is the position that I am taking or that this is, the truest version of the story. However, when we talk about Trump as a chaos magician who somehow, no matter what gets thrown at him, somehow he ends up coming out on top as just part of his weird occult magical power somehow. We don't know exactly what's going on, but it's hard to admit that this isn't the case. And again, you think about timing and you think about the 4D chess. And one thing that really got a lot of people riled up this last time around was the impression that Trump gave that nobody should care about Epstein. That it was just
that was last year, right? This was like a few months ago. Yeah.
It's just quite recent where he, and we can get into what did he mean and what did he not mean. But the message was, hey, Trump doesn't want to release the files. Trump doesn't want us to think about Epstein. Trump doesn't think it's a big deal. He's telling people not to pay attention to it. What in the world is going on here? And I do present to the court, Trump is not directly responsible for the release or the not release. Remember, it was an act of Congress that actually made it legal for Pam Bondi to put this stuff out in the midst of everything going on, or at least made it illegal for her not to put it out. And it is hard to, I guess, ignore the potential move or the potential fact that the only reason that the Democrats and the Republicans and everybody, the only reason that the powers that be pushed and changed the rules and changed the law and demanded that the Epstein files get put out in the way that they did was because Trump said that we shouldn't care about it.
So he was like a little jujitsu move, like, oh, I don't care about it, and that kind of gave him the fuel to move forward with it.
And maybe it's just a weird justification. Maybe it's just, hindsight. But considering the amount of people in leadership in the West who are implicated, and celebrities and politicians and CEOs, the amount of power that had gone into keeping these files hidden for so many years. Why didn't we get them in 2016? Why didn't we get them in 2019? Why didn't the fullness of the power of every industry, of elite power structure, down to Wall Street, down to the royal family, all working in concert to make sure that none of this saw the light of day? And if Donald Trump didn't say, don't pay attention, who cares? Just ignore it. Inflaming not only the left, but the right, and giving, Donald Trump's political enemies, I guess, a reason, or, sort of tricking them into changing their minds into, it's just
making
bizarre.
it. Yeah, maybe it was a little bait. Yeah, maybe it was bait to be like, oh, I don't want it out there because maybe I'm implicated in this, and then that really got the Democrat or the left, whoever, to be like, oh, we got to do this because he wants to avoid his name being out there, him being implicated in these files.
Oh, if he's scared of them. If he's scared of them, this is how we take him out. This is the only way. Right. Even, you can see all the elites, CEOs, politicians, blah, blah, blah. And they're all going, oh, man, we've done such a good job of keeping these files hidden for so long. Oh, man, our guys in the FBI, they're doing a good job making sure nobody learns of all our deep, horrible secrets. And then they're like, okay, we got to make sure to get Trump out of office. Okay, we got to get rid of this guy. He's dangerous. And then Trump makes this implication of like, nobody should care. No, don't look at him. No, it's okay. I'm not in there, I swear. And they're like, wow, it looks like the only way we can get rid of him is if we let him out. Should we do it? Is it worth it? Yeah, we got to get him out of here. Let's get him. Okay, go. Release.
Forget the collateral damage. We must take down, in their view, the Antichrist or something.
Or something. Something weird. It's just bizarre. It's, and if you're a skeptical person, if you're someone who's really aware of how these things are working, how these people work, how the power structure of the world is set up, I'm not saying this is true. I'm not even saying I necessarily believe it. But with, when you have eyes to see, and again, in hindsight, seeing what's actually happening and what's actually in there, yeah, there's some, anonymous tip lines to the FBI that people called in and said bad things about Trump. Yeah, there's like some stories that people told, but there's no evidence that he did anything wrong. In fact, most of the evidence points to him being somebody who was working really early to make law enforcement aware.
The whole thing started with him. That would also make sense. I mean, whoever's behind Trump, the power structure behind Trump, to leverage this throughout his entire sort of political era, especially and maybe that's what convinced him to go into politics, was he had, at that point, he would have had close to 10 years since he said something about this. And whoever's in his ear, maybe that's how they convinced him, like, hey, you're innocent. These documents are pretty damning for a lot of people. But I would it's tough because there's so many layers to this.
Right. Who knows? Maybe Dan, I mean, get into Dan and Cash. We'll talk about Dan Bongino and Cash Patel in a second. That was a whole mess. The whole thing's been a mess for so long. The
whole thing's a mess.
But again, would Democrats, would people who don't like Trump, no matter where they're from, again, the Dan and Cash thing kind of feels like it could have been bait to have people insist to their absolutely cartoonish performance in trying to get people off of the scent. Again, I'm not the other side of it is Trump's administration had the opportunity to go in, clean up the files, take any real names out. If he really was implicated, that's totally possible. But again, you would think, well, why didn't the FBI do that for everybody else who's implicated?
I'm seeing some comments in here, and it's very interesting. There's a comment in here from Monica. If the Dems had any of this before, they would have used it. I have heard that repeated over and over and over again by conservatives. And, I'm always skeptical when phrases are repeated over and over and over again. I mean, I'm not saying it's not true, but it's just one of those things where
it's a pretty obvious that people were saying this back before the election.
Yeah. But the other, the other part that makes me wonder what's really going on though is it's not just like implications of Western leaders or politicians or whatever. The circumstantial evidence, for example, that ISIS, the Middle Eastern terrorist group ISIS, is actually a formation of Israel. Like, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that is the case in these files too. So it's almost like,
there's a lot.
There's a lot. So I don't think it's just one thing, but certainly in the realm of the elite of American politics, these individuals we'll show a clip by Pam Bondi here in a second. I think there might be something there where you're talking about with a little bit of a misdirection or bait and switch, or all these little tactics that could be used to get the Justice Department to move in the way that they did. So it's entirely possible. Those games do play, there are those types of games are being played at that level. So I'm not surprised, and I'm not saying
a sort of innocent bystander by no means.
Yeah.
But another crazy thing was, and this is a good thing for all of us to remember when we think we know who's on whose team, because also revealed in the Epstein documents are conversations between Bannon and Epstein and Ghislaine, basically planning on how to destroy Trump. Bannon.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
Well, he talked about some of it for sure, but Bannon, who was in Trump's White House, and how he was his right-hand man. He could have been responsible for him even getting elected the first time, and he's had some ups, and their relationship has had some ups and downs. But it's been revealed that obviously we talked about Bannon working closely with Epstein to try to fix his
image.
Let's
make a documentary. We gotta get through the lies, and then we gotta tear down that pedo narrative that's really stuck to you, Jeffrey Epstein. I'll help you do it. We'll make a film. Like, what?
And in connection with that, talking about how much they hate Trump, how much he's got to go. They got to destroy Trump. And it's hilarious because, of course, at least in recent months, Bannon has been all pro-Trump. Yippee deepee deepee doo. Let's go. Trump's the best. So, even for us to kind of try to form an accurate picture of who's even on whose team is probably erroneous. That's sort of child's play to think that there are two teams on this, and not, this is how the devil works, man. Even amongst the devil worshiping, right? They're all at war with each other. Everybody's out for number one. Nobody really has any loyalty. It also kind of says something interesting about what the mainstream hates about Trump and will say is a bad thing, but like his loyalty demands, he's
right. Yeah.
He loves loyalty. He's a dictator. He demands loyalty. Well, considering this echelon of elites, it's like, does that even exist? Like, of course, like, whoa, what a battle that would be.
A reminder too, and I know we mentioned it mentioned at least once the last couple episodes, but I think this needs to just really get into the realm of thought for people. The World Economic Forum 2 years ago, and this project started well before that, but 2 years ago, during their Davos meeting, the whole theme was, how to regain trust. We've lost the trust of the public. How do we gain it back? And one way to do that is to bring about a little transparency, because all these Epstein documents, these are things that we have known. These are things that internet sleuths and truth seekers and conspiracy theorists, a lot of people have known about this, but now that it's published on a .gov, it's official, it's legit, it's real. And what does that do? It actually brings trust back to the government. People are trusting that the .gov, the government, is legit, or is for real, because it's reinforcing that authority. And I also think it's very dangerous, because what this is also is the elite signaling, all right, you guys want transparency? Here it is. Here's transparency. Remember, I talked about that idea of transparency becoming a thing, right? So it's in a lot of these documents, a lot of these lawsuits and things. We demand transparency from the government. But that means that the government could be saying, or the government or the leadership or the whoever, the lizard people, they're probably going, all right, you want transparency, we will give you transparency. However, that also means that all of you will be transparent to us openly. Not that we aren't already to them with NSA and whatever, they can kind of spy on us or whatever, but more so in the open, and I feel like a lot of the Ring camera ads and stuff was a little nod to that effect, where it's like,
well, the missing connection there, I see what you're saying. This sort of like grand transaction where they're like, okay, if you want to be transparent, it goes both ways.
It goes both
and what
ways.
You're referring to is what we all have to remember. We'll say this every episode during this whole thing, is that this isn't just about Epstein. It isn't just about political wars. It isn't just keep the main thing. This is the timing, the way this is going on, the transaction of transparency is all to serve one thing, and it's the new world order. It's the golden age. It's this new, not only financial evolution where they're going to change the money and the Bitcoin and the crypto and the CBDC and the surveillance and the this and the that and the technocracy. It's all to serve the technocracy. And we go back to this as often as we can, because remember, Trump, Elon, others have literal ancestry, not just spiritual ancestry, literal ancestry to Technocracy Inc. from the 1920s, the group of people who said we must have a technocracy. The world needs to be governed as a whole by scientists, by engineers, by CEOs. The actual technocracy that crazy people like ourselves and all the people we interviewed have been talking about for years. You got to be careful not to get so myopic, because that's how we get stuck in the like, well, Bannon's his friend. Well, Bannon's not his friend. Well, did Trump mean to do it or did he not to do it? Whether these humans meant to do any of this, which I think there are some who understand this, the grand spiritual movement is from whatever the world was to whatever they want it to be. The technocratic surveillance state where everyone enslaves themselves, imprisons themselves, of course, into what? The beast system. It's all to serve the beast system. The Epstein documents would not come out if it wasn't an essential part to transitioning humans from what we were to what we're told about in the book of Revelation. The beast system inevitably leading towards the historical end of this phase of humanity, basically. So again, the grand biblical perspective is essential for any of this to make any sense at the time. And the only reason that is a benefit for it to make sense at the time is because it is at its essence about our eternal souls. It is about the biblical prophecy, God's plan for the rest of humanity. So it is written, so it shall be, baby. If you lose sight of that, all of this is chaos. And if we're to have any peace that surpasses understanding. You cannot lose the big meta picture, was that all of this is leading us one place, and that's the beast system.
Yep.
Speaking of which,
amen to Jesus for freeing us from all of that.
I know that's
mentally, spiritually, physically. I mean, it's coming down the pike. So, okay, we got Pam Bondi.
Yeah. Well, just to leave that off, I pray that, that, we've been seeing this return of some version of Christendom. We've been seeing God call people to himself. We've been seeing lots of people come to Christ, lots of influencers begin using the name of Christ for better or for worse. And that is also part of what we've been told about the direction that humanity is coming in. And so, again, at our I we should be praying for God's will to be done to bring more souls to him.
I wonder, I'm just thinking, I wonder if the Baal burning in Iran started by the state. Could that be some kind of answering to a call from the West? Like, hey, we don't want bombs dropped on us. All right, what do we do? Let's appeal to the West. Here, you guys have to burn some Baal statues or something. You guys got to get the favor of the Western people or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Well, we know, we've known and we've followed for a long, long time that there is, in essence, a group within the elite ruling power structure who are actively taking action to try to fulfill prophecy, to fulfill the prophetic things. And they're not necessarily on our side. They just see things ending differently, but they are aware of biblical prophecy. They read their Bibles and they know what to make happen. I mean, talk about the third temple, talk about the red heifer. There is a group worldwide that understands that certain things need to happen to get to a certain place. And so, it's not out of the question that the Baal burning was sort of part of that in one way or another. Okay, so Pam Bondi went in for a hearing. Lots of things came out of it, but what did you get here?
This is the moment that Pam Bondi is telling us to pay attention to other things.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Okay.
Classic.
So we should not pay attention to Epstein or anything like that. Everyone should be celebrating that the stock markets are at an all-time high.
Yeah. It's so funny because Trump's gotten at Pam Bondi for handling things so horribly in recent times. But, she's kind of just towing the Trump line. And it's hilarious and pitiful, of course, to think that, a good economy or a Dow being so high is going to distract people from Epstein. But on the other hand, you look past maybe a couple layers of what's going on. She's kind of saying exactly what we're saying, which is, no, this is about the financial transition into the golden age, into this is all about the finances, baby. Which in a way
especially,
she's right, but I don't think she did it in the same way.
Yeah, well, I don't think so either. I think, couple episodes ago, we looked at the chart of the stock market. I think it was the S&P 500 specifically against gold. And it's actually gone down. So it's the S&P 500, all these stock markets, it's all an illusion. And that is part of it too. The
markets especially.
The market, that's what I'm saying.
Gold is one thing, Bitcoin's one thing, but the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow, which we're all basically aware, is more fake than even fiat money, if you can believe it.
Yeah, I know. It's very sad. But anyway, that's Pam Bondi. What do we got here? We got
just
more
to run through
Epstein stuff.
really quick.
Mhm.
Don't need to get deep into it. But one of the things that was found in the past couple days in the Epstein files was camera footage. Oh no, you know what? Let's do this one. Sorry, this is one that came out. One document that was found that has people a little wonky, this is the .gov document, Guns. That's a little suspicious, is a statement of Manhattan U.S. attorney on the death of defendant Jeffrey Epstein. This was a draft of the announcement that Jeffrey Epstein had died in custody. And people noticed one strange thing, and it says that it's dated Friday, August 9th, 2019, the day before Epstein allegedly killed himself. The Southern District of New York, which, remember, the Southern District of New York is the same courts that brought all the Trump cases, that did all the felonies, all the nonsense. It was all Southern District of New York. And it just happens to be the Southern District of New York had somehow had the foresight to write up the announcement of Jeffrey Epstein's death the day before he actually died.
Have you seen some of these alleged photos of a man who looks like Epstein walking around Israel right now?
Yeah, we kind of mentioned him last episode.
Yeah, people are checking to see if it's AI. A lot of the AI is looking at it saying it's not necessarily. There's no markers that makes it obviously AI.
Well, it goes back to an ancient argument of ours from back in 2021, and maybe even before that. I mean, we were covering AI image generation back in 2017, and so it's not necessarily that AI will fool people when it comes to propaganda and narrative control. It's not necessarily that AI will fool us. It's that there's always the nagging question, is it AI? So these could be true pictures of Epstein seen in Tel Aviv. Why haven't we seen?
I mean, he's not even trying that hard if it is. It's like, let your hair grow, let your beard grow, and there.
Right.
I mean, the hubris if it's real.
The point being, is the veil of illusion doesn't have to be, these are in fact AI. The question just needs to be convincing enough that if Jeffrey Epstein took a selfie for real, if he's alive and he's in a bunker in Tel Aviv, he takes a selfie of himself playing Fortnite on his Fortnite account, he can post it to the internet. Nobody will believe it. Everybody will say it's AI. You can be a ghost. He's a ghost no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, the announcement, the draft of his death announcement by the Southern District of New York being dated the day before he died. Could it be an accident? Could have been some secretary who was working, on a Saturday.
Working late, didn't see the clock flip over to the 10th.
Accidentally did the wrong thing. It's possible, but whatever. Is it AI? Who cares? Who knows? The illusion is impenetrable.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing, I'll just fly through this here because the point is easy peasy. Of course, we remember all of the camera footage nonsense where they said all the cameras broke. There was no footage. Then they suddenly said, there is footage here. Look at the footage. And there was a missing minute in the footage. Very strange. Some footage in the Epstein files show now that on the night of his death, a strange orange figure was seen going up the stairs to his cell block. Just a blurry, just one frame of a blurry little orange jumpsuit picture, is present, which the DOJ actually had documents about what that is. So they knew this. And in the Epstein documents were DOJ documents that said, this is footage from August 9th, shows an orange-colored shape moving up the stairs towards Jeffrey Epstein's locked tier at about 10:39 p.m., which is within the range of when he could have died. And the FBI logs described it as possibly an inmate. The inspector general the guy who is responsible for inspecting this footage for the Epstein case later said that it was probably a guard carrying linens, carrying bedding. So they knew that this footage existed. They had their inspector look at the footage of this blurry orange jumpsuit looking creature and said, no, it's just a guard and he's just carrying bed linens. And so we don't need to tell anybody about this. It's a nothing. Don't worry.
Yeah, the whole thing, man. The whole thing. We won't have to review it right now, but just
we're not going to review it. But the hilarious part about this, it only occurred to me maybe last night, maybe 2 nights ago. Of course, we have a lot of fun paying attention to what we identify as, quote, alleged or possible CIA, FBI, intelligence community podcasters, how the podcast space has been sort of infiltrated willingly and enthusiastically by people who have direct ties to the very organizations that lots of people are skeptical of. Sean Ryan, Tucker Carlson, possibly Candace Owens. Some of these connections are fairly loose, but these are suspicions people have. And it had not quite occurred to me to check in on Mr. Dan Bongino, who, of course, we can remember if you want to play a couple of these Dan Bongino clips here, because it's always good to remember. Just some of the promises and the statements, because, of course, he had access to the files before anybody else, and he just wanted to bring us the truth.
I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay, it was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him.
Right.
There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
Yeah, you can see it, except for that one little orange blob that the investigators did
We have to enhance the footage before we release it. That's why it's taking so long. What are you guys doing to the footage? Of course, there was a whole bunch of stuff once they released it. That the minute, what is it, a 60-second thing where they got to change the VHS tape or something. I don't know why they're using VHS for surveillance cameras or whatever. The switch over, there were all kinds of stuff. We went over it several months ago.
No. But of course,
you're right.
Didn't think to show us the orange blob picture, but that's okay because Dan Bongino, he said it explicitly with Kash Patel. Believe him.
Yep. There's another one here. You got another clip?
That's what I'm saying. I'm queuing you up. Play it.
Oh, that was a cue. Okay, sorry, I didn't recognize it.
You know a suicide when
it's very quiet. Hold on, let me turn it up.
You know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Oh yeah, I remember this where he was like, wasn't it shortly after this when he said he was going to resign?
I think a couple months after this, but here's the thing. This is how he got the job. This is what his whole career is about. Both of these guys that got into the FBI, they were going to tell the truth. It just so happened to be that 1 month before these documents dropped is when Dan Bongino said, you know what? I quit. I'm not going to be FBI anymore. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a podcast. I can do much better work as a podcaster. Okay. The most literal final boss of intelligence agency podcasters. He's just came straight from being number 2 in the FBI a month before the files dropped that many of the files he suggested didn't exist and didn't show anything. So he quits and starts podcasting again, and has become the final boss of FBI podcasters. He's like the mafia boss of the Tucker, Sean Ryan, Candace thing. And it does blow my mind that that anybody could think that he could come straight from being in the FBI, going to do a podcast, not even a secret, not even.
Well, he was doing podcasts before, though. I see him as like the proto
he was
intelligence podcaster, because he was the first one to really kind of
he was in
have
the Secret Service. He
was in the Secret Service for like 12, 13 years or something.
But to
And
come straight from being number 2, making promises on the Epstein stuff, then puking out the official story that he's dead and there's nothing to see here. He killed himself. And then waltz back into podcasting, a community that is famously skeptical of, all the intelligence community operators. It's just hilarious. He's not having a fun time. People are giving him a really hard time.
Yeah.
They're calling him Bongino because people who are calling him out keep getting blocked. And I have not seen a whole lot of comments of his on these pieces of evidence coming out, but that's a hard job. It's a hard job being a FBI podcaster.
Apparently either that or it makes it easier. I'm sure our show would be huge if we worked with the FBI and the CIA, got a little bit of their help,
Yeah,
But,
nobody would trust us, though. Nobody.
yeah,
That's
that's
the
true.
thing. Nobody trusts these guys anymore.
Do they
are
trust us
huge.
now? I know people listening might, but
So,
most people probably don't.
Well, you can't
It's
trust
probably
us
we
if
have-
you don't listen to us. You got to
Oh, yeah,
listen
that's
to
true.
us. You
Yeah,
trust
yeah.
us.
Well, don't trust us either, though. Go do your own research. Come to
Just
your own
trust our
conclusions on things.
hearts. That's what matters. Trust our hearts. Do your own research.
Well, it is interesting to see the development of podcasting over the last 15 years, and just kind of watch it go from a nothing to really like the main arm of the CIA and intelligence agencies to control the narrative out in the field. I mean, it's wild, man. It is just absolutely crazy. And it's actually kind of frustrating because I was listening into a conversation yesterday, fairly normies, but even the normies are starting to wake up to stuff. So they're talking like, oh, the conspiracy and we can't trust them and blah, blah, blah. And all of their references were these CIA podcasts. Sean Ryan just had this guy on. Did you check it out? Oh, Sean Ryan did the thing. And it's like, oh my gosh. Oh, Rumble's the only place left to, spread truth. And it's like, guys, Rumble's owned by like BlackRock and Street.
Right.
Come on, guys. Come on. But it makes sense that they would fill all the gaps where all the negative press for YouTube and X or Twitter at the time, and then just get ready to capture all the skepticism by placing all the right people in the right places. And they did a fantastic job of turning over the that type of thing. And just as a side note here, it's not necessarily it's to that point. There was a post yesterday. It's actually Tim Alberino that said, hey, there's a fantastic conversation, another fantastic conversation. And he was sharing an episode of Sean Ryan sitting down with Wes Huff. Now, Wes Huff has become a fairly popular Christian podcaster. There's no direct like CIA or intelligence ties that I can tell. He might have been in the military. I don't know. But he's very famous. Like he's gone on all these different podcasts and dropping truth bombs about Jesus and truth bombs about the Nephilim and doing all the stuff. Well, Sean Ryan, the interview I think is published today, yesterday posted on X, watch the official preview with my next guest, Wes Huff. And the caption on this graphic of Wes Huff is "The Secrets of the Book of Enoch." The secrets. Wes Huff is going to give us the secrets of the Book of Enoch. And
Wow.
I couldn't help myself, Basil. I did respond. I said, first, Enoch does not contain any secret knowledge sorry to burst your bubble. It's public Second Temple Jewish literature. It's a key window into what many ancient Israelites between 500 BC and 70 AD believed, especially about Genesis 6, 1 through 4, which, the sons of God and the Watchers, the Nephilim. It definitely influenced and shaped the New Testament. So the real payoff isn't secret knowledge, but context for the New Testament. There, I saved you a couple hours of a podcast episode hosted by a former CIA contractor. And people just, they lost it, Basil. Some people liked it, but other people were like, I like how he explains things, or whatever. A lot of responses from people.
The age that we're in, Guns, is it's not what information is delivered, it's how it's delivered.
I know people don't care. Yeah, they just want to hear a good story. People just want to hear a good story.
Credit. It's for a new generation of people who weren't around, who weren't awake, who weren't paying attention, to read the books or do the this or the that. It's very much like Ian, what's that guy's name?
Ian Carroll.
Carroll, right. He even admits himself, he's like, I don't actually say anything that other people haven't done. I just kind of take all the research other people do and put it into a format that people like, which, that's
a 60 second bite. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, yeah, this is the line between intelligence agent and content creator, it's pretty much gone now. Like, everybody is representing something. And it goes back to that article I wrote a couple years ago, that we're all being turned into intel agents. It's just a matter of what intel are you bringing to the forefront? What message do you have? And then what economic model are you working off of? And for us, we're very open about our message. It's to point to Jesus, bottom line, period. I know it could be boring, but of course we're getting there through all kinds of different means, which is nothing revolutionary, especially nowadays in the conservative movement or the populist thing, which, by the way, the whole populist thing seemed to have been a plan of Steve Bannon and Epstein. So there you go. There's that. The whole populist movement was conjured by Bannon and Epstein.
I don't know if it was conjured by them, but they pretty explicitly wanted to jump on the coattails of populism.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, they've talked about it like 10 years ago.
A lot of people rode the wave of, as an opportunity. And that's what, anyways, get into it.
Okay.
That's like saying Epstein started Bitcoin. It's not true. It's that they saw something that was happening organically and then pushed their way in and got it
in. Funded the developers earlier on. Yeah.
Okay, what do you got next?
Okay, so we are in this age of enlightenment, and not even enlightenment, awakening. People are calling it an awakening. A lot of people are calling it a spiritual awakening. But the pattern that we're seeing right now is any conspiracy, all the old conspiracies are being connected or like revisited or being proven to be true, right? That's like the big thing happening. And there's a big one that came down the pipeline yesterday, or a couple days ago actually now, and that is the suicide, or now being called something else, of Kurt Cobain. Now, Basil, this is probably a little bit. Actually, you were alive, but you probably weren't like a Nirvana fan, right?
Like young when it was happening, contemporaneous.
You were like 5 years old or something when it was all going down. But for me, my generation, I was born in 1983, so I'm 10 years old when Nirvana is just massive. I mean, I grew up in that generation. We all got guitars. We all played "Come As You Are" and "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on guitar. Everybody, that's what we all did. Everybody on the block knew how to play Nirvana songs on the guitar. That was our generation. It is very much part of my childhood and coming of age. And I remember when the alleged suicide took place, very sad. We were all very sad. And, I think we were like 10 years old. Yeah, we were like in elementary school and we were talking about it. And what's crazy is that a few years afterwards, there was a documentary that came out that suggested that Kurt Cobain was not, he did not commit suicide, that he was assassinated. And in this documentary, they called out Courtney Love, who was a singer and guitarist of a band called Hole. and was the wife and mother of Kurt Cobain's child. And, they were together. And the thesis presented in this old documentary was that Courtney Love was somehow responsible for the death of Kurt Cobain. Now, this has been obviously, put to rest. It's been a few decades now. We haven't talked about it. But now, Basil, all conspiracies have their moment, and it's the moment for the Kurt Cobain story. The Daily Mail carried the story, testing Kurt's gun. Exclusive. Kurt Cobain's death was homicide. Shocking new forensics investigation questions suicide ruling. And we're not going to get too deep into it. I'll read a few paragraphs just to kind of get an idea here. His death shocked fans and sent ripples through the music world. But decades later, Kurt Cobain's final moments are under renewed scrutiny. The Nirvana lead singer died on April 5th, 1994, at age 27 from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at his Seattle home. At the time, the King County medical examiner ruled his death a suicide by a Remington Model 1120 gauge shotgun. Now, an unofficial private sector team of forensics scientists has put fresh eyes on Cobain's autopsy and crime scene materials, bringing in Brian Burnett, a specialist who previously worked on cases involving overdoses followed by gunshot trauma. Independent researcher Michelle Wilkins, who worked with the team, told the Daily Mail that after just 3 days looking into the evidence with fresh eyes, Burnett said, quote, "This is a homicide. We've got to do something about this. We've got to do something about it." She said the conclusion followed an exhaustive review of the autopsy findings, which revealed significant inconsistent signs inconsistent with an instantaneous gunshot death. The peer-reviewed paper presented 10 points of evidence suggesting Cobain was confronted by one or more assailants who forced a heroin overdose to incapacitate him before one of them shot him in the head, placed the gun in his arms, and left behind a forged suicide note. And so there it goes on here, and it talks about all the details. We don't necessarily have to get into it, but this brings up a lot of questions, obviously. Now, the sort of context people are suggesting with this and the connection with Courtney Love goes back to some old files that were declassified over the years that pertain to Epstein's book, his like little black book or something. I forget the exact name of what they called it. I believe it was the black book. Do you remember, Basil? It was like Epstein's little notebook or something that people were discussing. Yes, and in that book was Courtney Love's name and phone number. So something about Courtney Love, there's a connection to Epstein there. I think this is why it's being brought back to the forefront, which we'll talk about the meta narrative that they're probably starting to roll out here as part of this. But just for the sake of understanding, like, okay, a private investigation into Kurt Cobain, who cares? It's like it's not even official. Clark County, or not Clark County, whatever county that was, they haven't retracted their conclusions about the suicide and all this. King County up there in Washington State. We haven't found any. We're not going to reverse any of the things or whatever. But the news is getting out. Yahoo mirrored music feeds. This is a homicide. New forensics dispute Kurt Cobain's cause of death. And there's a couple other outlets like Vice. Vice is reporting on it. Kurt Cobain's death labeled homicide by independent investigators. Police not reopening the case. It's really interesting. Police are not reopening the case, but independent investigators are allowed to look at all the evidence. That's interesting. I find that very interesting. So anyway, that's all taking place. And people are putting two and two together, and they're starting to come up with more of a thesis about what may have gone down. One being that, again, Courtney Love was trafficked by individuals with CIA connections. And, there are people doing more of the digging on the actual evidence to support this. And some people are suggesting that when Kurt Cobain moved to divorce her, they decided to kill him instead, because that would mean that Courtney Love would lose all of the rights and stuff to a lot of the Nirvana empire, so to speak, because his death would ensure that she would get all the publishing rights and everything, which is worth over $250 million. So, there's monetary incentive there. But they also killed when I say they, the PD detective in Seattle that was actually on this case also died. So there's suspicion surrounding a lot of it. And if you were into this topic 25, 30 years ago, I'm not going to play the full clip because it's got some bad words in it. But in the documentary, I remember this so clear because it was such a big deal when we were talking about it. We were like 15, 16, 17 years old when the documentary came out, or maybe a little younger than that. Maybe we were 14, 15, or I was 14 or 15. But there was this footage of this guy. He was in a band. I forget the name of the band, but they interviewed him and they asked him like, hey, you were asked to kill Kurt Cobain? And the guy says, yeah, Courtney Love offered me $50,000 to blow his head off. That was what he admitted. And literally like a week after this interview, this man was hit by a train and died. So,
Classic.
it's a very, classic pattern of spilling the beans and then getting taken out for it. Whether it's the Clinton body count or whatever. Now we have the Courtney Love body count, apparently, where people around this particular supposed suicide of Kurt Cobain, people are dying, whether you're the PD who was researching it or doing the investigation, or this guy who blew the whistle on it a few days or a few years afterwards. So, people are revisiting the topic. Now, this taps into a bigger narrative about redefining suicides as homicides. And to me, this brought up more recent suicides connected to child trafficking or allegedly connected to child trafficking. And to me, the big ones, obviously more recently, is the alleged suicides of Chester Bennington of Linkin Park and Chris Cornell of Soundgarden and Audioslave. And he's got one of the coolest voices I've ever heard singing is Chris Cornell. Do you know how he's, Chris Cornell, Basil, you know what he sounds like.
No.
You don't know?
No,
Bro,
that's okay.
Bro, you gotta listen to some Chris Cornell. Anyway,
not important.
Reuters back in 2020 published this article, Fact Check, Avicii, Bennington, Cornell, and Bourdain. That's Anthony Bourdain, the food guy who, flew around and did. He was also, by the way, Bourdain was also, he called out Mossad like a week before he died. So, there's people speculating that maybe Mossad was behind his death. Okay, so fact check, Avicii, Bennington, Cornell, and Bourdain were not working on a child sex trafficking documentary and did take their own lives. Thank you, Reuters. And they go through the whole thing here saying that, they committed suicide. Yeah, they did it the same way with belts and hotel rooms. But the verdict, false. Avicii, Bennington, Cornell, and Bourdain did not work on the Silent Children documentary. Yeah, one specific documentary that came out about child trafficking. And official documents and reports confirm that they took their own lives. So the verdict was out in 2020, but I think a lot of these suicides, we might learn more about them. Man, Chester Bennington died in July 2017. That was 9 years. Oh my gosh, that was almost 10 years ago. That is insane. It's been where did the time go? Oh my goodness. I remember making videos about this on Face Like the Sun. So the question becomes, how deep does the rabbit trail go on this stuff? And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if over the next, next few drops or next, whatever, whenever they release more documents that we learn about what happened to Chester Bennington, what happened to Chris Cornell, Avicii, maybe Bourdain, who knows? All very fascinating, but there seems to be a pattern emerging here, Basil, and it's that a lot of these alleged suicides were probably not suicides. There's just way too many of them when it comes to entertainers and musicians. And, you talk about, it's the drugs, it's the occultism that they got involved in. It's because they sold their soul and they were under the control of certain individuals or maybe principalities and powers. That to me seems more plausible. If you sign a contract that says, hey, your life belongs to the record label or something, you're subject to getting taken out, if you're owned by them. And not just legally, I'm talking spiritually, So it brings all those things into question. So any thoughts on this, Basil?
Well, I mean, the connection for me, I think the Kurt Cobain thing is interesting because it sets an interesting precedent at a very interesting time about alleged suicides that, after second look, don't seem to be suicides. Now, we'll see if a court or an investigation or something gets opened up, but the timing for that kind of message that an official narrative can be, I guess, adequately challenged in the mainstream media. I think there's interesting timing for that. Just pulling out and looking at the sort of meta going on right now. Of course, Epstein's suicide comes to mind, is really called into question. But it will be interesting to see if this turns into a pattern. If there's a pattern that emerges again directly in the mainstream narrative, which would signal a sort of it's sort of signal a and it's just too easy to call it sort of a propagandistic transition. But maybe just like a consciousness transition about suicides being recategorized as homicides. I mean, I could see it. At least I could see them holding it as an option, like in the chamber. If it suits the beast system, if it suits the transition, you can test the waters with the Kurt Cobain.
You had mentioned the Linkin Park connection, Chester Park being the singer of Linkin Park. There was
Chester Bennington. Yeah, he was very outspoken about the child sex trafficking thing. Linkin Park, the name of his band, was the name of a military base in Canada, which allegedly was famous for experiments on children, all sorts of things. I think there was some claims post facto, or I don't know if it was his claim or not. This was about 10 years ago, that he was there. He was a victim of those experimentations or something like that, which kind of was used to explain his mental health issues that they claim led to him taking his own life. But yeah, his band was called Linkin Park, very, very popular band.
Oh, probably one of the biggest bands in the 2000s. They were humongous.
As far as what he was sort of communicating, that was the name of a Canadian military base where they were experimenting on children.
Well, one thing Chester got right. I've become so numb, Basil. Do you get the reference? You don't get the reference. I bet you the chat does.
Park.
I've become so numb. You don't know.
I bet you that there was one person in the live chat who maybe
guaranteed more than one person understood the reference. Guaranteed.
Not in the live chat. There's not a whole lot of people in the live chat, but maybe
come on, chat. Come on, chat. Give it. I saw somebody mention that Chester Bennington was the son of John Podesta. Interestingly enough, I made a video about that. I think it went kind of viral on YouTube when I did it, because I also, was looking at the pictures and stuff, and it was like, wait a minute, this guy does look like John Podesta. And of course, I had made a bunch of videos about John Podesta at the time because, he had some Pizzagate stuff.
He was the progenitor of Pizzagate. Pizzagate.
Yeah, I mean, he was
from WikiLeaks dumps of his emails. That's where Pizzagate came from.
Right. But that wasn't the only reason Podesta was interesting. The other part of it that people don't talk about as much is that Podesta was really into UFOs, really into the alien conversation, and he said publicly that his greatest regret when he was leaving office, because I think he was in the Obama administration before he helped out Hillary in her 2016 campaign. He said his biggest regret was not releasing more infos about UFOs. That was his biggest regret. It wasn't eating kids or whatever he was doing. It was not informing the public about the UFO thing. So you got the UFO stuff. You got the connection there with. Here we go. I got the video here from the YouTube channel. Podesta's regret. Is UFO disclosure near? When did I publish that? 10 years ago. That's like 10 years ago I published it. So I mean, there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down, but yeah, I think this is every conspiracy is on the table, except for flat earthers are crying right now. Flat earthers, I'm sorry. Eventually, maybe something will happen. And
the time will come.
It's not time yet. It's not time yet. That's the last one. That's when the firmament really just busts open. I think that's when everyone will have to admit that they were wrong about the whole heliocentric thing, but that's for another time, Basil.
Looking at our time here, Gons, what does your time look like?
Oh yeah, I gotta run. I gotta get going.
I think you gotta get scooting.
Yeah, I do.
So you want to say we'll have to save the balloon thing. You want to save the glitter, or do you need to get scooting right now? We only have 3 producers to thank today. So
okay, I mean, you can mention the glitter. I think it's just it's a good mention.
What's your story? Why don't you mention
All right. Well, the Ash Wednesday is coming up, and if I don't think anybody here goes to the church at Ponce and Highland, but they are suggesting here Ash Wednesday, February 18th, trad and pro LGBTQ glitter ashes, not ash, regular ash, but glitter ashes. That's right. Why glitter ashes? Glitter ashes show remorse at straight Christian cruelty to our LGBTQ siblings. For LGBTQ people, they are a reminder that we have but one life and we should shine, not hide. And take it away, Basil. Why is glitter important in this story?
I can't wait to hear Michael Knowles's take on this story. I hope somebody sends it to Michael Knowles.
We should just tag him on it. Yeah,
digging into these things on behalf of the Catholics, which, of course, is the ash on the forehead during Ash Wednesday, which is supposed to signify humility and things like that. I like the phrase. What was it? Straight Christian cruelty.
Yes.
Straight Christian cruelty. Wow. Well, glitter is an interesting one. I think, of course, there's a connection there with things like the LGBTQ stuff. But we uncovered the glitter conspiracy, must have been a couple of years ago now. Long story short, there is basically one single glitter factory in the Western Hemisphere and perhaps in the world. Glitter is apparently an incredibly highly protected secret. And we know this because there were some journalists who went to the glitter factory, had their own meeting, had a little interview with the glitter factory guys, and then asked if they could get a tour of the glitter factory. How do you make glitter? And he was turned and kicked out the door because apparently the manufacturing of glitter is a secret of national security importance. Nobody is allowed to know how glitter is made. Nobody is allowed into the factory. And they refuse to even name any of their clients who they make glitter for. Now, of course, you can buy some glitter at your local craft store, but the express reason was we can't show you the glitter factory and we can't tell you who we sell glitter to because it is a national security secret. Now, of course, this brought up why in the world would glitter be an issue of national security? What sort of weaponized glitter program is, secretly running under the military-industrial complex? Well, lots of theories led us to things like chemtrails, to glitter.
The screen to make the Project Bluebeam work. They got to put a screen up there.
Glitter clouds to project the Project Bluebeam hallucinations. Things like that. So, whenever we see glitter it's always interesting when party decorations are sort of, an issue of national security. So keep that in mind, folks. Also, glitter is apparently incredibly toxic. So I don't know if I want to put glitter on my skin to absorb through my forehead on Glitter Wednesday. But yeah, the glitter conspiracy continues, man.
Yep. And they're putting it on people's foreheads over there at the LGBTQ Christian church. So
down with straight Christian cruelty.
Yeah,
all right, folks. Well, I can hear the children in the background. I can't believe the propaganda rooster has not started screaming yet. But we are on the value for value model, which means we don't take any money from corporations, commies, cartels, the government, intelligence agencies, the Vatican, nothing. We're entirely supported and sustained by God's grace and the participation of our producers in the value for value model. We do not even unwittingly bow down to mammon in the transactionary economy of your time, your attention, your eyeballs, your trust, and trading that for fiat currency for our own personal gain. I get it. Doesn't mean a lot to some people, but I trust that the Lord will reveal just how important that is someday. Instead, value for value model is very simple. If you got any value from this episode at all, if you got any value from this show over time, whatever, the understanding has to be in our hearts and in our minds that we have to take some personal responsibility for keeping things in this world that bring us value, especially value that we can't get anywhere else. And if we sit back and let YouTube, advertising companies, big corporations to basically hold you hostage 30 seconds at a time throughout your truth-seeking podcast experience, then we are not doing our jobs. So we pray that the Lord inspires you to get involved, to produce the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure. Lots of ways to produce the show. It's not just all about money. If you're an artist or a musician, you can go to canarycry.art and make something for the show, upload it there. But producing the show with your treasure, of course, in this world we live in, is essential for keeping the show alive. And it's been a pretty slow year so far for producerships, but thank God for our executive producers who are, in a way, if not single-handedly, double-handedly keeping these episodes going. So I want to thank them here. Let's do it. So we have executive producer Sir LX Protocol, V2 Baron of the Breen Protocol. Of course, coming in for $100.33. Thank you very much. He's on a 462 episode streak and a 116 episode executive producer streak.
Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol.
God bless you, Sir Alex Protocol. Your faithfulness is very inspiring and has a hand in every single episode for the past 462 episodes. God bless you. Executive producer Jinja came in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jinja.
Jinja came in for a nice round number, so we won't read that. And just for everybody's information, if you produce the show monetarily and you come in with a nice round number on the 10 or the 5 or something like that, that's you telling us you'd prefer we do not disclose the amount. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, make it a funky number, put 33 cents like Sir Alex Protocol or 1234, send some sort of weird numerological message. Have some fun with it. That's telling us you don't mind if we disclose it. Thank you very much, executive producer Jinja.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you.
We also have executive producer Sir Jamie, not the Lannister, comes in.
Hey, Sir Jamie, thank you.
Thank you, Sir Jamie, coming in for his weekly tithe. God bless you, buddy. And that's it for the executive producers today. We did have one producer come in under the executive producer amount, and that is an inspiring story from producer Free to Sing Psalms.
Free to Sing Psalms?
Yes, Free to Sing Psalms.
Nice.
I see him in the chat every once in a while.
Right.
Free to Sing Psalms comes in for $11.11. $11.
Hey. Thank you.
And Free to Sing Psalms sends a note that says, "Hi, Basil and Gons. This is my first time supporting CCNT." Ooh, get that demooching ready, Gons. "This is my first time supporting CCNT, and I hope to do more in the near future. Love you guys and appreciate all you do. Free to Sing Psalms. P.S. I would like to set up a meetup in Michigan. How do I go about it?" Well, let's hit them with that demooching, Gons.
You've been
It's a big moment in every boy's life when he becomes demooched and becomes a man or a woman, I guess, if you're a girl. I don't know. Thank you, Free to Sing Psalms. And if you produce the show for the first time, anybody out there, make sure to let us know, and we would love to demute you as well. If you want to put on a meetup in Michigan, it's extremely easy, and everybody should listen up because meeting up in person, meeting Canarians in your area is going to be an incredibly important thing to do as time goes on and things get crazier. But in order to put one on, it's very easy. All you got to do is pick a time, pick a place, and then send us that information, such as, I don't know where in Michigan you are, but is Detroit in Michigan? Yeah, Detroit. So you pick a place, Patty's Pub in Detroit, Michigan, Saturday, February 28th. And you email that to us at canarycryradio@gmail.com. And then we will put it on the website. The website is canarycrymeetups.com. And we will make sure to share it with the world every episode up until the time comes. And some people like to make RSVP contact information available. That's not required, but you can do that if you want. So looking forward to it. Free to Sing Psalms. Pick a time, pick a place. Send us an email at canarycryradio@gmail.com. Let's get those Michiganders together, the Canary Cry Michigander team. On that note, Guns, we actually do have a new meetup that we've just been given. So let's all together go to canarycrymeetups.com, and you can see we have.
Hold on.
Just
one
reload.
second. Oh, I know what I need to do. Hold on.
No, it's fine. It's working on my side. So
okay. I have to refresh. All right, that's me.
Settle down. First of all,
I was the one that did this, and I didn't refresh. Look at that.
Meetup February 28th in North Glen, Colorado. That's in the Denver area. Prost Brewing Company. So Denver area, Colorado. Canarians, make note of this. February 28th on Saturday at 3 p.m. There is RSVP information if you want to ask questions or connect with Canarians in the Denver area. Kona's phone number is there on canarycrymeetups.com. Go get in touch with Kona. Go to that meetup. We have a new meetup in Los Angeles, California on March 3rd. Listen up, Californian Canarians. Los Angeles, California, March 3rd. Let's see here. Meetup with Andy. This will be at the Yuko Kitchen. Y-U-K-O, Yuko Kitchen in Los Angeles, California. Let's see here, northwest corner of Main and 5th. So very specific.
Oh, this is like LA.
Yeah, this is downtown LA, baby.
Yeah.
A little trip to LA. Okay. Thank you very much, Andy. Los Angeles, California, Yuko Kitchen, March 3rd. It'll be from 3 to 6 p.m. I see. So Andy sent us some RSVP information. I see the RSVP information did not make it onto the website, Gone. So we'll want to make sure to add that RSVP contact information on the website.
That?
We'll do that today.
I guess I did. Okay.
Well, that's okay. All right. Los Angeles Canarians, March 3rd. Make it a date. Okay. March 3rd, Yuko Kitchen. Go to canarycrymeetups.com. Scroll down, find all the information. RSVP if you can. These hosts, they're really putting themselves out there, and it's nice to know that there are people in your area. Reach out, say, hey, I'm coming to the meetup, I can't wait. Or maybe say, hey, actually that date's not too good, Maybe let's see what other people think, that kind of stuff. So make sure to get in contact with these hosts. That's a very special thing because the whole point is to contact other Canarians in your area. So there you go. North Glen, Colorado, February 28th, Los Angeles, California, March 3rd. Very exciting.
Yep. Hold on. I'm just updating this here now to give that RSVP. Contact Andy. There's a phone number there now. So.
Yep. Oh, and Andy's in the chat here. Andy is in the chat.
She's in the chat. Yep.
There you go. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
And everybody go say hi. Okay. We had a piece of art come in. Let's take a look at this wonderful piece of art. This came from Sir Darren, Knight of the Hungry Panda, an amazing and professional marketer, graphic arts fellow. And he has this new, beautifully branded piece of graphic here. And this is for the Canary Cry Watchdogs. He sent us the Canary Cry deck crew last time. Canary Cry Watchdogs. This beautiful image here with some German shepherds wearing military-style helmets and night vision goggles. It says, many are called, few are chosen. CanaryCry.party. Enlist, produce the show, support value for value. Come on, everybody. Come join the Canary Cry Watchdogs. This was a big episode, a big day for Watchmen on the Wall. And so this is a call to adventure for anybody who might want to produce the show with their time or their talent or their treasure. Become a watchdog. Thank you very much, Sir Darren.
Thank you. Sorry, the children are starting to get rowdy here. And
the natives are getting restless. You know what that means, folks? We're just going to thank a few producers and we're out of here. These are people who help us with their time, starting with the time stampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Sorry, I'm speaking to my son and all of you at the same time.
That's okay. Why don't you let me talk and cover you, and then you can find out who the time stamper is.
It's Jade Bouncerson who did
Thank you very much. Jade Bouncerson swooping in, doing the timestamps, often doing them live. Goes into so much of our back end processes. We really appreciate it. Big old shout out to Jam, who heads up the Telegram channel. Big old shout out to Adam42, who heads up the Discord channel. Go to canarycry.party. You can find the invite links for the Telegram and the Discord there. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for all the clanking you do for us. And of course, Sir Ike making things happen on the back end. And you folks, you have a role to play as well. At the very least, go ahead, share the show. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with the watchdogs, share it with the deck crew. There are people waking up all around you. It's one of those moments in history, folks, and they are scared and they don't know where to go, what to do. They don't know what's going on. And you can help them by letting them know about Canary Cry News Talk, a safe place, a truth-seeking place that keeps Christ at the center. So share the show. Thank you very much. And other than that, we call it rattling cages. All you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
Hey,
stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy.
Leave the bird alone.
Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Oh no! You know, I forgot to pitch the text message alert system. It is not the end of the world. We got some great text, but I'm frantically trying to sign into the text message system. It might not be in the cards because somebody texted. I'll say this. I don't remember the phone number, but producers, listen up. We are praying for this producer of the show. Her husband is going in to negotiate a contract at work next week, and we're praying for this fellow and the whole family that he's able to go in and negotiate a absolutely perfect contract, make a deal at work, so it can bless the family, bless God's work on this thing. I'm sorry, my system is totally frozen back here. I can't pull up the phone number, but I remember you. So we're praying for this producer's husband when it comes to negotiating a contract. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Any last words, Gun?
That's it. Stab Man Day tomorrow.
Oh,
Lincoln's birthday tomorrow. Yeah.
Big day, Stabman Day, one of the biggest high holidays in the Canary Cry calendar. So make sure to tune in and celebrate Stabman Day. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, that's a